Hello and welcome to What's Up Conversations, the podcast for legends and icons of the game industry. I'm your host, Hamid Razani Kufar, and this episode is a special one. I have two weird guests. One is a legend in the game industry, and the other one is a new strange voice in music. But they both love and make games, and they both jam together. What you're hearing now is one of their rich works. Ladies and gentlemen, in this episode, I danced with Weird Wolves. Weird Wolves is the band of two, Rafael Colantonio and Ava Gore. Raf is the founder of Arcane Studios, the company with amazing games like Dishonored series and Prey. His new studio is called Wolf Eye Studios, and they are making a very unique game called Weird West. Ava Gore is the other band member, and her voice is like the angel of death, singing the most beautiful song to your ears, and you'll give her your soul freely, with a goddamn grin on your face. Now, before going to the conversation, let's check out their new song, Eyes of Orion, from their recent live show. You can find Weird Wolves on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you're listening to your music. And I hope that I sounded badass in this intro. Alright, hello and welcome to What's Up Conversations. What an unbelievable moment. This is my second podcast with Raf. My friends and fans of the show know that he was, and still is, one of my childhood legends. And now I'm honored to say that he's a great friend of mine today. Welcome back to the show, Raf.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So much.
And this is just crazy that Ava Gore is my guest today. And I just can't say it enough how much I love your voice. It is something new and yet so familiar, and that's when you realize you're in love with a voice. So thank you so much, guys, for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, last week's live event was awesome. It was 2 p.m. my time, and I was headbanging the hell out of it. It was something that I really needed, because being trapped in the house for months is so claustrophobic, and that feeling of detachment is unbearable. But that live event really felt like a concert, and I had so much fun. So how do you guys spend your end of the work time, and how does it affect your creative process, making songs and performing live events?
So how do we handle, what did you say, the end of the, was it a joke about the end of the world?
Yeah. How do you handle this coronavirus situation, and how does it affect your creative process, making music and live events?
Yeah. Well, if you want to start, or
well, it's kind of nice having a lot of time, and we're lucky because we get to actually see each other and play together, and it's nice. I think otherwise I'd go insane. But I don't know. Do you want to?
Yeah. It was interesting because I think we managed to not see each other for 2 weeks, and then I think I started texting, or she texted me, and it's like, do you, we'll use hand sanitizers, and we played safe, etc. So it was, we both were going a little crazy, and I think music for us is, of course I got my work, I work for Wolf-Eye, as you know, and that takes a lot of my mind, but at the same time, like, music for me is a little bit of my outlet. And it's very therapeutic in a way. So we both felt, okay, let's just, let's go let's do it in a safe way, but let's do it. And as far as the creative, for me, I think it's what we're going through right now is more, I'm taking it in as opposed to using it for creativity yet. I think right now we've more been focused on polishing our existing songs, releasing a single, Eyes of Orion, and also focusing on that stream because it's our gate to the world right now. And since we can't play at the venues anymore, so figuring out how the cameras, how OBS works, how to get a great sound from the console directly into the stream, and that's something that we had never played with before. So we had there was some adjustment.
Yeah. Getting playing in front of a crowd that isn't there sometime.
Yeah, they were in the live chat. What a positive crowd. I really enjoyed that. So a great surprise of the event was the release of the new song Eyes of Orion, as you mentioned, and it is still early to say, but I think this is my favorite song from Weird Wolves. It's groovy, meaningful, and very bold. Let's talk about this particular song. How did it come about, and how was the process of making it?
Well, it started actually. It has had a lot of different iterations from disco to strictly acoustic and I think in a song there's the melodies themselves that can be arranged in any form. I mean, you make music yourself. Yep. And the same melodies, you can make it a country music or a death metal song, and just by arrangements. And so in the case of Eyes of Orion, it ended up being, we first recorded it. It was pretty much acoustic, and then I started to play with those whoop thing and like more like electronic sounds, and went a little crazy on that solo bridge, which make it really funky.
Yeah, that was awesome.
While it has a bass it's a very dark bass. It's not funky happy, even the lyrics. But then that contrast makes it interesting, and I think we settled on that because at some point you can't keep on rearranging the songs all the time. Yeah. And it's actually pretty hard to play live, and we really struggled for a while because there's
you guys nailed it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's a few challenges with this song when playing live, including a 2/4 break in the middle where there's a mini break and then it starts again, but like not when you expect it.
I struggle with that.
Yeah, me too. Actually, me too. But yeah, very fun.
So, how was the process of making this for you, Ava?
For me, this song is mostly a rap song, and so coming into it, I had to learn like the many changes coming along. But I loved it from the beginning, from when it was acoustic, from to now. Like, it's just a great song, and it's been more and more challenging as it gotten more advanced, I guess.
Yeah, more technical all the time. Yeah, I got her to play some parts that were new, and but even when Eva came on board on this song, she brought her own twist with her. She's got this nice, warm yet dark voice, which really works for the aesthetic that pleases my ears.
Yeah. So every artist has his or her specific approach toward making art. I'm interested to know, how do you manage to align your different approaches, tastes, or interest into a particular idea? For example, this song.
Yeah, for this song specifically, or
no, generally about all of your songs.
Yeah, I guess it depends on the song. Sometimes I bring something, sometimes Eva will bring something, and then usually we fit in pretty well. I don't, there's not any creative tension so much.
We both just like really dark shit.
Yeah, it's true, and I try to get out of my own dark taste by adding some groove and some stuff like that. it's kind of an effort, because if I let myself go where my instincts are, it will always be super dark and moody and gothy and all that, right?
I'm in, man. Go there.
No, I think what's interesting is the contrast, though, because otherwise it's hard to renew yourself, stay there, and it's again, there's something really therapeutic about music and how you gestate on an emotion or something, something that happened to you, whether it's very old pain or whether it's recent anything, fear, joy, or whatever it is that you have. I think the process that the inside, and then at some point it needs to come out, and the process of coming out is actually pretty painful. In my case, it's I feel like I'm not gonna make it. It's not. It's gonna sound bad. It's not. People are not gonna like it, and then eventually, you turn it around and it's great. I was lucky. That's how it feels.
Yeah, it took me a long time to be able to write something and be able to play it in front of anybody without starting to cry. So it's been a long process of learning how to do that first, and then.
Yeah, it is crazy because music does something to an artist who creates it. It's like between each song, Ava was someone else, and when she was performing the song, she was someone else. Like, I'm talking to Ava now, but through the music, I know her differently. This goes to you, Raph. I mean, you are different in your artistic creation too. I mean, whether it's a video game or it's a song. And this is crazy how people change when they are singing or making a music.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we were, we incarnate whatever it is that become that thing. And I guess acting is a bit of the same. And it's true. I noticed it specifically on Eva because she usually has a personality which is a little more shy, on the shy side, and then when she sings, her voice changes and she becomes the thing, And so I guess you have to do that for people to be able to enjoy it and believe it.
Yeah. All right, let's time shift a bit and talk about the origin of the band. Now, I have all the time in the world, so I'm really excited to hear about the birth of Weird Wolves because it's a very interesting combination.
Yeah, it was. We met through mutual friends. She's a gamer, Eva,
nice.
And back then I was making Prey. I think either she just bought it or she was about to.
I was interested in buying it. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. And so, and back then I was also working on the music for the expansion pack of Prey and Crash, the DLC. And I had this melody that was a very rock treatment. It was goth rock treatment, and I tried to sing it and it was okay, but it felt like I was again in my own things. And I thought mixing it up would be interesting to try a female vocal like that. And I knew Eva was also a singer. And so we tried, and I liked the results. Sent everything to my producer. It's a friend of mine who was also the audio director of Prey back then, and now he's the audio director of Weird West, by the way. And so he produced that song, and he put his own. So he kept all the structure and the melodies, but he really changed the sound itself, and he added a lot of electronics. He downbeat my entire, I was on a, and he went very different approach, and sound. I really liked it. It sounded even darker than the thing that I typically do, yet more modern, and I really liked it. So that song was actually really the beginning of the band. Really, that song that's called Realization.
And I was a huge fan of Dishonored anyway, so I was super excited about it.
Who isn't a fan of it?
Yeah, right.
Do you ever think about expanding the band?
We've tried. So really the band is just us two, but we also have a drummer sometimes that like a session player when we play live, and he's great.
Awesome.
He learns our songs in no time, and then he plays them without us having to worry about anything. It's just it's like a machine. You turn it on and it just plays, and it looks cool and all that. And then the Schultz Health, the producer for some of our songs, is definitely also in the part of our sound most of the time. At least in most of the produced songs that like the one from Weird West, the one from Dishonored in the past, that was pre our band, by the way. So I do consider him as well part of the band, but like it's really us two, like the band, the ones who decide, and it's the core, right? The core of the band. And we've tried occasionally to add someone, but it's complicated.
Yeah.
It is very complicated for a variety of reasons, including just time. I think both of us, we live very, very close to each other, so it's easy for us to come here and play. Whenever there's someone else, now you have to coordinate 3 people instead of 2. And imagine coordinating a 6-people band. I have no idea how to do it. Playing music, having a band is I take it extremely seriously. She does too, and it's not really a thing where you can afford to half-ass it, and do like, someone's cousin's birthday can't come, and someone else says, whatever, is not feeling well today. So I think 2 people is ideal in the current situation for us.
Yeah, we tried to audition bass players because originally it was just us playing guitars, just the both of us, and we didn't have any bass. And we tried, and we just didn't like having to figure it out with another person. I'm not a social person.
Yeah, and frankly, it could have worked with any of the people that we've interviewed, but it's. Yeah, one was living 1 million miles away, the other one 2 million miles away, and it was complicated. And then eventually we just decided, you know what? We both can play bass, we both can play guitar, and we sing. Let's rotate the bass around and when we play live, and that's easier. We don't have to worry about a third person, and it just works. Mm-hmm. And it's fun. I get to do those crazy ass solos when I play the bass.
People love us switching the instruments around for some reason.
Yeah, people really like that thing. I don't know why. We should switch them. Like, we should switch my guitar with your guitar in the middle of the song.
Yeah, that's fun. The chemistry is fantastic. But let's figure out both of you separately. Start with Ava. How did you get into making music, Ava? And was it always your dream to make music in this particular genre?
Well, I kind of grew up in the music world, and I don't know, I've always known music. It's just been a part of my life since day one. Like, I can't think of a time where it wasn't. And it took me a long time to actually start creating my own. I still struggle with it quite a bit, but it's getting there. And no, with this genre, no, I don't even really know what genre we are. Like, we always struggle with that question. But I mostly listen to like indie, like folk music. And when I tell people that, they're like, what? But I mean, my music's all over the place, the music that I listen to. So I like pretty much everything except for like modern country, I guess. But yeah. So now I'm here.
Wow, that's great. So, Ralph, we already talked about your background in the game industry, but I think we've never talked in depth about your love of music. So let's go back and tell me about your earlier memories making music. And was it always in parallel with making games, or is it something that got you later on?
No, I started making music when I was 15. And then I left to England. I had a really cool band back then, and it was also a duo. And we had like an amazing music chemistry. And then I had to leave for England because I started to work for Electronic Arts, and that's it. That was it. I never played again until the music for Dishonored, basically.
Really? How long was it?
So that was a big gap of 20-something years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was playing on my own. I would take a guitar or a bass or something, and I would cover some songs that I was a fan of. Sometimes I would play in a cover band for like 2 months, and then I would go nuts with the reality of cover bands. They're not fun. But that was about it. It's only a few years ago that I finally tried GarageBand on iPad, and I started to make music this way. And I think the first music that eventually made it to the world through video games was Mind Games. No, actually, before that was the Brugmore Lullaby for Dishonored 2. And then Mind Games was heavily produced and remixed by Choose Health, Matt Pearsall, the audio producer guy. But as a kid, I was a big fan. I was a kid of the 80s, so for me, think about most of the British British dark stuff. Big fan of The Cure, Sisters of Mercy. It was really, really my thing. I was maybe 12 when I heard the Sisters of Mercy, and it felt like discovering something really evil compared to what all my friends were listening to, and it had this, you felt bad when we were playing, like a bad boy, and even though, like, as I listen to it now, other than this really crazy deep voice that he had, it's not that much of a dark. It is dark, but it's this way more evil now. But back then, that's how it sounded to me. Right? When you're 12 and you hear the Sisters of Mercy, you feel like I'm listening to some really difficult music for most people. And so that kind of thing like stayed with me forever. So yeah, any 80s stuff that was dark was really my jam. And yeah, I started to play bass. I helped a band. There was a friends of mine that their bass player was kind of like on the way out, and I joined. I never had touched anything, but I had the ear. I had very good ear for melodies, and so I was never a very, very technical musician. Sorry, I was more of a by the ear melodies kind of thing. And when you're a big fan of The Cure, it's not like the thing that you're going to play are going to be extremely technical and complex, but it's more about the emotions and some interesting melodies, I think. And it always, I think the when you're a kid, I think, and you hear those musics, there's nothing, whatever music that it is that you're into, it hits you home. Because you feel like that music is so you feel like you're going into the world of the same musician, or the musician is going into your world, and you feel so connected with that band, with that in a way that never happens again later. It really happens around 14, 15, 16. And I would say it's the same thing with art in general. I could say the same thing about video games. Because you're so alone as a kid most of the time. You're trying to define yourself. You're kind of like rebelling against the world around you, and then suddenly this thing gets to you like effortlessly, and that music that understands you. Whether it's with the lyrics or the or the melodies, or both combined, and you just go, oh my God, it's like, that's my world. That's me, right? And that stays with you forever. Yeah. And even now, if I write music, it's there, all those bands that I was listening to somehow. Of course, it's, I put my own spin hopefully on it, and it's a mashup of the different influences, but it's there, and like in a way that is branded, that I can't go away.
Yeah, this is interesting because I have the same feeling about Arx Fatalist, your game. I think I was 11 or 12 when I played that game, and I think that game. I don't really remember exactly, but I think that game was the first RPG game, and for me, it changed a lot of things. Like when I go back and watch the trailers of that game on the internet, or see a picture of that game, it really sparks something in me. Like, this game was something different, and I love RPG now, and that game changed a lot. And same goes again for Dishonor. And this is very interesting to be able to talk to the guy who did that. Amazing. You're living the life, Raph. You always follow what you love. That's really inspiring. I mean, more than any music, more than any video game, the way you live, that's inspiring. So, Ava, you're a gamer, right? So what are your favorite games, and were you familiar with Raph games before joining him?
I had only played Dishonored before I met him. I'm kind of a newer gamer, I guess. And I used to watch my dad play games before I actually started playing games myself. And he kind of got bored of them after a while. And I realized that I kind of like needed them in my life. So I started playing them myself. But my RPGs are definitely like my go-to type games.
I'm not her dad, by the way.
I had like an Assassin's Creed tattoo. I mean, that's not really an RPG.
Awesome.
I love Skyrim.
And sure, tattoo.
Fantastic. Yeah, I saw that, and even I was like, is that an Assassin's Creed tattoo?
Yeah. Yeah, Skyrim, like The Witcher, and I don't know, stuff like that.
I told her last time we played live, Todd Howard was watching us. Not this show, but the show before.
Wow, that's amazing. What do you play now these days, Raph?
What am I playing?
Yeah.
Oh man, you'd be disappointed. I play mostly. What is the game that I spend the most time on? I would say probably recently I played again Into the Breach.
Oh yeah, actually, Ken Levine introduced me to that game and fucked up my life.
Right? Yeah, exactly. I found myself spending a lot of time on that game. I mean, other than that, like the latest, let's say, recent big games that I played was The Other Worlds.
Wow, yeah.
And because it's a genre that I like, I would say, a big RPG, Fallout style is always something that I'm going to give a chance to. But lately, I think I'm more into smaller, not necessarily smaller, but independent games that have, I'm waiting, for example, for the next game from the Divinity original.
Yeah. Baldur's Gate, right?
Yeah. But also the next Wasteland or games. So, and of course, I'm waiting for the next Arcane game. I'll be honest about that.
Yeah. So, I exactly remember the day, Raph, you mentioned that you're coming back to making games. I remember every little detail of that night. I was in a old Persian tavern, 8:30 p.m., drinking Moroccan mint tea, and you said something that really spoke to me. And you said, sometimes you have to distance yourself from what you love in order to understand how much you love it. And this is very beautiful. Please tell us about this epic return to the game industry with such a different game, which is Weird West.
It's different, and at the same time, I think people who like this kind of stuff that I do will find a lot of my, and not only mine, but team, spirit. It's like a religion. It's a philosophy. It's hard to fully get out of it. But yeah, I think I was kind of, it's a little bit like a relationship that has gone on for too long, or even if it was, I loved Arcane. I'm so proud of it's like my baby, right? I started this in '99, and then now it becomes its own thing. It's 20 years old actually, and it has its own life, and I'm not gonna try to control it, to keep it, to wish something or something else. It's its own thing, and it's beautiful, and I really enjoy seeing what they're doing, etc. I'm a huge friend with Harvey Smith. I'm huge friends with Sébastien Mitton, Dinga in France. So a lot of Romuald, etc. A lot of people that we've built this thing together. So we're absolutely no animosity between us. But when I left, it's really because I felt that I had gone as far as I wanted to with Arcane, and then I had some other desires that I knew I could not accomplish at Arcane, simply because Arcane was so defined as a specific type of company at this point. And it's also a specific type of size. We were 250 when I left. That plus 10 other reasons that were all mostly personal made it that I needed to distance myself. I didn't even know if I still wanted to make games, and I certainly didn't want to make one more AAA game.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things you have to have it out of a system. If you want to work on a big AAA game and direct one of those big games and do it, and once you've done it, great, but it doesn't mean that you want to do that forever, because it's very consuming for a variety of reasons. So I left, and then it came back, and what came back was on a different format, more smaller budget, smaller teams, still big game. Where you'll see what we do with Weird West. It's a huge game. It might actually be my biggest game, but it doesn't take 200 people to make. It's we made deliberate choices about the visual style, so that it's still very beautiful and special, without taking too long per asset to be made. So we made the entire game with 4 artists, which is pretty incredible when usually it requires 70 artists to make a game, but more. And there's also more freedom, less pressure, less financial pressure to sell multiple millions of units, because you just have less to recoup. So if you have less to recoup, then you can try to innovate more, take more risks, make more bold choices. So that to me was exciting. And also this time I wanted to be heavily involved with the music creation. Hence Weird Wolves, because I think even from a movie director's perspective, you think of David Lynch or Cameron, one is also makes visuals, and the other one makes also music, right? And it doesn't mean it does all the art and the other one does all the music, but it's one more input of for the director to express and to direct the game, the world. That if I want to immerse you in my world, I can. If I also have a chance to write music, some of the music at least, then it's one more way for me to communicate with you, the player, my world, and what I want you to feel when you play my game. So the music of the trailer of Weird West is also ours, and it was also produced by Choose Health, and it was written during even at paper phases, and when imagining what this game could look like, and thinking about a trailer, etc. And it's very reminiscent of the game itself. And Eva is the voice, and she's also, by the way, she's also the voice of the trailer itself.
I know, yeah. I wanted to ask about that. So, yeah, this is great, Raph. I really hope you keep making games, because the industry really needs you. So
I keep making them as long as I like to make them. That's
that's the way you live, man. I know. That's your rule. So I think this is going to be also a kind of a musical game, right?
A musical game?
Yeah, because you're heavily involved in that, and it really like in the trailer, the music really was like in the narrative, in the atmosphere, in the world of Weird West. And how's that to be involved in the making of the game, and also be involved in making the music of that game? What's different here?
Yeah, I think it feels great, because it's one more way to illustrate our world. And I think not every game directors worry about that. Most of the time they don't even care. Most of the time there's like an audio guy somewhere, and they contract some other audio person that makes some sort of generic music. Let's do some orchestral stuff. That sounds good.
I know.
That would be cool. That's so heartbreaking for me. Why would you do that? I mean, music is an opportunity. And audio in general is cheap compared to any rest of the budget, simply because if you look in terms of like how many people you have working on the music or on the sound in general in the game, or I bet it's the same for a movie, we're talking about a few percent of the budget. So why fuck that up? Because while it's just a few percent, it represents a good 50% of the experience. Right?
Yeah.
If you think about a game with bad sound, you'll notice it will not feel as good. But when the sound is amazing, like a good Looking Glass game like Thief, and it had this amazing sound that everybody remembers, it takes you somewhere else. And that's why I work with Matt, because he's first of all, he's the best audio guy that I know, and and he really means it. He wants, for him it's art. He wants every detail of the sound in this game to be amazing, and he's happy to work with me on some of the music. I don't want to work on all of the music. He's got some stuff as well that he wants to put in, and that's cool. I really like his style. But for some of the music, when we feel it's going to add something, and our style is a little different than his style as well. So we play guitars, he doesn't, and so like it's the mix between it's the fusion between dark electronic stuff that he does and the more maybe instrumental stuff that we do, that makes that end results. And the direction, the idea that behind the music or the audio in general for Weird West is kind of like it's a bit like gothic western, goth meets western. So if you imagine some of those guitars sound like down 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 down, but like the really goth version of that, right? And I think it works so far. It's a cool, and it's important for us that we do that. We don't just do Wild West music, because otherwise it's going to sound like
Morricone,
whatever. Great, it's a different. Not weird enough. Yeah, we need to sound a little more special than that.
Yeah. So Eva, your voice narrating the Weird West trailer was so badass that I made a complete song inspired by the mood I got from your voice. Seriously, wow. I'm still tweaking it, but Raph has heard it. So are you going to be more involved in voice acting in Weird West, or was it only for the trailer?
I think Well, there's going to be like one other monologue that I know of so far, but other than that, I don't think there's going to be much voice acting in general.
There's going to be maybe more.
There's going to be more.
Yes.
I don't know.
I have plans.
Please, yeah.
It's a mystery to me.
She can be a main protagonist of a video game, really, a badass assassin, for example, a vampire. Amazing voice, really. That trailer with your voice, it was mean, it was gritty, it was unbelievable. That was so badass. Yeah. Raph, please.
Just before us, there was another trailer that came out that had it was a kind of like a dark western thing. I can't remember the name of the game, but and it had the very expected male, very voice on top of that, with the southern accents and all that. I was like, I'm so glad. I mean, what they did was great. It worked out. It worked well for what they were presenting. But I'm so glad we did not do that, because that's what everybody was expecting. Weird West game. Let's have someone with a super deep, male cowboy, etc. And we went another way, and I think that paid off.
Yeah, her voice is fantastic on that trailer. Like, this is weird. This is something not usually you hear. There's something wrong with this game. Yeah. So, was it initially when you first created the idea of Weird West? Was it with the music, or was it completely the gameplay, the story? What was the initial aspect of making Weird West?
Like, I think, like for any game, it's in my case anyway, and it's like trying to make a painting, so you don't always exactly know where you're going. I mean, maybe some people have like a very, very clear vision of where they're going, right? But a lot of the time, if you look at those artists painting, they start somewhere, and they have like a mood in their mind, but then it changes, and then they add some detail, and then that gives them an idea for something else there. And then because they put the sun there, it means that the cat's shadow is going there. It's sort of some sort of like a chain of. And then it comes out and it looks beautiful, and everybody thinks, "Oh man, that guy had vision." But sometimes it's not really that defined when you start. And I think in the case of Weird West, it was a mix of the type of game that I wanted to see, I wanted to play, and some of the aspects that I wanted to push. Things that are important to me and to other people, the team. And the world itself is more like context. It's more, and it's very important, because some people manage to do games in abstraction of the world. I can't do that. I quickly need to attach my ideas to a context, and so comes the questions of like, what world, and having some sort of a dark fantasy version of supernatural version of the Wild West was compelling when we started to talk about that, because it's at the same time it's very familiar, but it hasn't really been done so much. I mean, it's there's what's the name of that thing from White Wolf?
Yeah.
I got it.
I think there. I don't exactly remember, but I think Dark Watch from High Moon was Weird West, right?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, there's a full world. It's a literature. It exists. It's just that it's not really brought to the foreground. And even in the video, I mean, not only in literature in general, but even in the video games, it's not like there's many Weird West stuff.
Yeah, this is unique.
Yeah. So, and it's kind of part of the decision process when you make any property. I think whether it's I bet I've never worked on a TV show, but I'm sure they're thinking about the same. Is how do you do something that is new and familiar at the same time? Because if you do something too new, too crazy, people they don't understand it. They don't want to touch it. They think it's strange, and And if you do something that is what everybody else has done, then nobody wants to do it either because you're not original enough. So it's the conundrum of how to be original and at the same time not too strange.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a good for us. It's a good thing that people get excited about.
Sure. So I can't wait to play the game. Do you have any estimated release date?
So I don't. I mean, I do, but I can't say
much. But you won't say, yeah. No. Sad story.
Yeah. No. You've heard that before, I'm sure.
Yeah. I can't just... All right. This is the last question, but I'm sure it's something that all the Weird Wolves fans want to know. And it is, when are you going to release a Weird Wolves album? Step it up, man.
So first of all, I'll be upfront about that. I don't know much about the music industry, and it's moving very fast. And as you ask people, nobody really knows where it's going. And streaming seems to be the thing. How do you make music in the music industries nowadays? So product placement, playing live, and if you're lucky, selling your songs. But I look at other bands that are starting like us, and they pull out those albums with 12 songs, and they have a few views only on Spotify. Putting an album, it costs a lot of money, and it's a lot of effort. And then you put out this big bunch of songs together. And you have, people usually the spirit behind albums usually there's a few fillers in there, etc. So I think the world has changed a bit about that, and that's just my theory. I might be wrong about that, but right now it feels like, given our pace and the number of songs that we have, and each of the songs we really really work on them with a lot of love. We don't do fillers. So I think the right now the approach is just to make single after single. And it's easier for us to control the pace of it, and a little less pressure, etc. So I don't know exactly that there would be this yet anyway for now.
Yeah, I mean, all of the musicians that I know that are in bands are doing the same thing, just single after single. Like the drummer that we have, his main band is just doing singles. Also, I know it's kind of more exciting that way. I feel like for some fans, like, they get all this anticipation, and then it's like, oh, it's one song, and then
Hey, you can do whatever you want, because in the album I think there's one idea that you can't go away from, and it must be coherent. But with singles, each time it's a surprise. I'm happy as long as you make music, man. But albums are like 12 songs right in your face. Enjoy. But it's okay. We got occasional surprises like live events. I wish every day is Corona Day. Yeah. So, all right. Thank you so much, guys. Raph, you're a brilliant game developer, a fantastic musician, and above all, you're a great man, and you've always had my back. Ava, this is my first time talking to you, but you're the best. Your voice is badass, just like the way you play that bass. And I can't wait to hear more from you guys. Keep it weird, guys, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We are Weird Wolves!
empty for you. Only here for some good time. Are you squirming?